I said you're wonderful.
There we go.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh no.
You're wonderful too.
All right, we're slowly connecting.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
I said you're wonderful.
There we go.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said you're wonderful.
Oh, this is crazy.
I think we are live here on YouTube channel for Seattle Shakespeare Company. Hello, I am George Mount, Artistic Director at Seattle Shakespeare Company. And it is a privilege and an honor and frankly, a real blessing to welcome you all to the listening party for the fifth and final installment of House of Sueños. And you are joined tonight by the creative members of the creative team behind House of Sueños. This was a new endeavor for Seattle Shakespeare Company, as so much is right now. I want to make sure to acknowledge that we are in difficult times, and everyone, I hope, is healthy, safe, and in a good place as we are moving into winter to spring, and hopefully enough vaccines will be getting out so that everyone can be experiencing live theater when we are live again. But right now we have this a great opportunity to explore different styles of presenting stories and different styles of presenting classics and reinterpreting and reimagining and giving voice to some of our favorite artists at Seattle Shakespeare Company. And these are those folks. Welcome to the creatives behind House of Sueños. I'm going to leave you in their capable hands for the rest of this listening party.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Yeah.
Hola, hello.
Kids got the stream for the weekend. We're taking over.
My name is Meme Garcia. I go by they, them, theirs. I am the playwright for this show. And this is...
My name is Wiley Basho Gorn. I go by he, him, his. I am the director and the dramaturg for this lovely little creation.
Woo-hoo. And we're coming at you from the lands of the Shasta and Tacoma in Southern Oregon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Does anyone else want to introduce themselves? Megan?
Yeah. Why don't we can popcorn around. So Jocelyn, why don't you start us off on some introductions.
Wonderful. Hi, my name is Jocelyn Fowler. I am the interim production manager at Seattle Shakespeare Company, and I had the honor of stage managing this production. I use the pronouns she, her, hers, and I am broadcasting from the land of the Puyallup people in Federal Way, and I am going to pass it on to Franco.
Hey, my name is Sophie Franco. I go by Franco. I use they, them pronouns. I have the role of the attic, and I'm coming to you from the lands of the Snohomish people in Snohomish, Washington. I'm going to pass it over to Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Roach. I was the sound designer on House of Sueños, and I did not do my due diligence in looking up whose lands I'm on ahead of time, and I apologize for that. I'm going to pass it to Caro.
Hi, I'm Caro Zeller. I am the voice of Rena, and I am in Puerto Rico, which is the lands of the Taino people. And I'm going to pass it to my sister, Angela. Like Amelia? Angela?
Sister. Hi, everybody. My name is Angela Hernandez. I am the voice of Amelia. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am coming from the land of the Shasta and Tacoma people. And I am going to pass it to Catherine.
Hello, friends. I'm Catherine. I am your mom. She, her, hers, and I am also from, I'm not really your mom, and I'm also from the Shasta and Tacoma people.
So we'll have a chance after to for anybody to ask any questions or people to explore any thoughts they have. But I think we should probably get started listening to it. Don't you think, Wiley?
Yeah, I'm down. This is so exciting. This is a new experience for everyone in producing, in creating. And we're so thankful for those of you who have joined us on this journey that we have taken over the past 5 weeks releasing these. Now this story is out in the world. It's out in the world until March 17th. Please share it with your friends, your family. This story speaks to so many people, and we'd love to share its beauties and mysteries with the whole world. But this is thank you all for being here to hold space as we have our final opening celebration before our long and lovely closing process.
House of Sueños by Meme Garcia. Episode 5, La Despedida. Welcome to the final episode of House of Sueños. The attic is still again, but unlike before, es una quietud que viene de la parte más honda de la tristeza, a kind of sadness that leaks through every crack, every corner, every pore. It's almost like the attic is floating underwater, deep under the ocean's surface. Mom lays in the middle of the attic, unmoving, surrounded by all of the broken and secret things she had tried to pack before Amelia. The box of Papi's stuff is nowhere to be found. Rena appears just outside of the attic, her hand hovering above the doorknob. She's been let out of the psych ward, and she is dressed once again in her black suit. Her phone rings in the distance.
¿Qué quieres, gringo?
Rena, hi. I didn't think you'd pick up.
Well, I did.
There's no easy way to say this.
Spit it out then.
I was really hoping it'd be a voicemail. I thought your mother would want to do this, but I haven't seen her in days. I moved out, and I'm not sure she's equipped. One load of tread upon another's heels, so fast they follow. I told her that we had to watch out for Amelia, and now how she found her way so far out to sea, I will never know. I just got back from the police. I had to identify your sister's drowned, Rena.
Drowned? Where?
There's a bluff that shows his rocky walls in the ocean's water, and there, with little gifts for us, for her, of flowers, cigarettes, nail polish, and little incoherent notes thrown to the wind. You might have called it a quintito, but the police think it was a suicide note. There on the cliff, she hovered on the edge, strewing her offerings to the wind and the sea. And for a moment, she thought she could fly, so she took a step off the earth and fell into the churning and frothy waters of the Pacific. Time seemed to slow as she jumped, her clothes spread wide and sparrow-like a while. She floated midair, which time she sang the briefest of songs. And it was like she belonged in that moment. But long it could not be until time caught up with her, and in an instant she crashed into the surface of the Sound. And it pulled my daughter from her melodious lay to a watery grave. She is drowned. drowned.
Like watching a sugar cube dissolve in a glass of water, Rena sinks to the ground, her phone falling out of her hand. After what could be moments or an eternity, she speaks.
How all occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge. What is a girl, if the chief good and market of her time is to wallow in self-pity with no end in sight? Amelia, he that made us with such large discourse, mirando adelante y atrás, no nos dio esa capacidad y esa razón divina to fust in us unused. Now, what drove us to this? A puppy killed? A mother murderer? A world which sees us for our faults rather than our light? For that darkness, which is just un pensamiento que partido en cuatro tiene una parte de sabiduría y tres partes de cobardía. Yo no sé why yet I live while she doesn't. La sangre caliente in our veins is proof enough that we both should move and scream and jump for life. Witness this attic, this house of sueños and loss, led by a delicate and tender little prince. Me, whose spirit with Papi's divine ambition puffed, sought to avenge his murder selfishly, recklessly, with no thought of what the cost might be, exposing what is mortal and unsure to all that fortune, death, and danger dare, and for what? To lose you, too? I've spent my whole life trying to grow up. No, not grow up. Hang on. Clinging to whatever reality seemed best in the moment. And you, Amelia, our little sparrow. Where are you now? How stand we then? Two sisters torn apart by trauma, separated by an ocean so deep that not even the moon knows where to look? But I have a secret, Pajarito. You think you've gone to a place no one comes back from, but I know just the box you've crawled into and how to get you out. I won't let you go so easy, little sparrow. From this time forth, our thoughts be of living or be nothing worth.
The attic door opens of its own accord. Rena walks up the attic steps, standing in the wreckage of boxes and broken things. She looks around for Papi's box, but can't find it. Her eyes finally land on Mom, who is laying on the ground, clutching the old photograph of Rena and Amelia to her chest, the wreckage of her packing ricocheting away from her like an explosion. Rena lights a cigarette and taps her mother gently with her foot.
Yo, mujer, where did you put that box of poppies?
Rena?
Have you forgot me?
No, by the rood, not so. You are my slain daughter's sister, and were it not so, I am your mother.
Wow, un poco dramática, ¿no? Mira, tienes dos opciones. One, get off your sorry ass and help me find that box. Or two, you rot away to nothing.
Leave me alone, Rena.
No me iré hasta que te ponga delante de un espejo en que te veas la parte más secreta de ti misma.
Rena snatches the picture from Mom's hand and shoves it in her face.
Do you remember when this was taken? I do. It was my 12th birthday, right before Papi disappeared. But he didn't disappear, did he, Mom? You killed him.
I didn't kill him. I love Luis more than you will ever know. I loved him so much that when he died, a part of me died and kept dying until I couldn't look at your face without seeing his. You all were so clearly his children, and you had this darkness that would just seep from you.
Darkness?
Every day I was just expected to soak it all up, until the next thing I knew, I was the one drowning. I had become a catacomb, an endless well where he dumped his trauma, his hatred, his hurt, his fears. I had so much of him left inside me that I didn't know where he ended and I began. And then things went from bad to worse when the neighbors called the cops on your 12th birthday. They thought there was gang activity at a 12-year-old's birthday. When he came back from the station, the hallucinations started. Small at first. He'd forget his keys, lose track of time. But soon he'd convinced himself he was back in El Salvador, back in La Paz, standing in front of a firing squad, begging for his life. And then one day, we were at one of your soccer games. I'd asked him to stay behind because I knew the sun and the yelling would trigger him. I shouldn't have left him alone, because while we were gone, he walked into this attic and never came out.
And you just let us think he had abandoned us?
You had started displaying signs of, and the doctors were worried that you'd never be able to recover.
And Amelia?
She hardly remembered him anyway.
That's why he came back for her.
What do you mean?
Papi, the night of your wedding, he waited until the two of us were in the attic and he possessed her.
That's impossible. Ghosts aren't real.
A ghost isn't just a spirit or a kid in a white sheet who shouts boo. They're leftover trauma a human being leaves behind. The accumulated pain of being forgotten, of decades worth of prejudice and shame. If Papi came back, it's because we made sure he never left.
And he has Amelia?
Almost. But I can feel her, Mom. Cuando te vas, te quedas.
Like it's been waiting for this moment, the box labeled Papi's stuff slides out from the ether of the attic. The two women stare at it.
You can't do this.
Wow, if I didn't know better, I'd say you were almost worried for me.
Just don't die.
Oh, please, Mom. That's like so 3 months ago.
Rena walks up to the box and it opens by itself. That same watery grave shining from it. Breathing deep, she dives in and we are swallowed up with her. Opening her eyes, Rena finds herself in the living room, water pouring down the stairs. She begins to half crawl, half swim through the empty and deserted house. Past the kitchen counters lined with alcohol bottles, past the now abandoned wedding tent, past her sister's bedroom, where the little glow-in-the-dark stars glitter like phosphorescence in the water, past her mother's closet, where the wedding dress floats like a ghost in the wind. She swims through the empty hallways as the current roars past her. When she finally does stop, she has to tread water in front of the attic door, where the darkest things wait for her. The attic is ready for this final haunting, and right in the middle of it all, Amelia drifts in the tide, her little offerings hovering in the darkness around her.
Amelia.
Who's there?
Boo, bitch.
Rena.
A piece of her, little sparrow.
Leave us alone. I have no sisters now. You gave up on me.
You sent me away.
Nada que hacer.
Ah, I see Papi's here too. Still desperately clinging to the mind of este pajarito?
Don't talk to us like that.
Why not? He's as much a part of me as he is of you. Like calls to like, hermanita.
Amelia lunges for Rena, grabbing her by the throat.
Go to hell, Rena.
Already here, hermanita.
I love you, little sparrow. 40,000 sisters could not with all their quantity of love make up my son.
Of course you do, puppy. That's why you came back for her.
The darkness around Amelia manipulates her like a marionette on a string, pulling her deeper into the depthless dark.
Just leave me, Rena, please. I was always destined for this ending, don't you remember?
Este es el cuentito de dos hermanas y cómo se convirtieron into algo of the darkest of sueños.
Claro, claro. I remember this cuentito. Pero like you always fell asleep before Papi got to the end. You clearly remember the curse and her older sister cries. But do you remember what happened after she turned into a bird?
Amelia, stop sinking.
This new little sparrow found a certain freedom in her new life.
But sometimes days were rough. Sometimes days were better than others. And sometimes the darkness rolled in and threatened to drown the pajarito.
But that didn't bother her.
Amelia begins to swim up towards Rena, entranced by her story.
Sabemos que this little sparrow, she'd go out every day buscando. She never knew what for, just that she felt a tug right in the middle of her heart. So she went out every day, searching.
Her freedom was as vast as the open sky.
As infinite as her mind.
Cabal, papi. So sweet how this thing which was once a curse actually became the greatest gift. And soon, in the middle of her daily flights, she began to remember snippets and snatches of a girl all alone, calling out to the bird in her dreams.
Poor Niña. Tan sola. So lost she could hardly tell the forest from the trees.
Esta bicha, pues. It was the little sparrow's older sister, still searching for the other half of her heart. She walked through every forest and glen, past every tree until she finally had reached the sea. And just as she was about to jump in, she thought, well, this is where my life was always headed anyway. But then, she looked up.
How did it end?
No siempre necesitamos an ending, Amelia.
I'm so scared, Rena.
Yeah, no shit. But this darkness, it's never gonna go away, hermanita. And that's okay.
How do you know?
Sis, we defy augury. There's a special providence in the fall of a little sparrow.
Si es ahora,
'Tis not to come.
si no ha de venir.
It will be now.
Y si no es ahora.
Yet it will come. The readiness is all. I like to think that the two of them, reunited once again, flew all over the world, letting themselves simply be.
I want to go home.
Por Dios, I thought you'd never say that. I am freezing my tits off in this place. Next time you decide to leap off a cliff, do it somewhere tropical, like Cabo or San Juan.
As quick as can be, Rena reaches out and ferociously hugs her sister, simultaneously kicking fast up to the surface. She swims and swims, never once staring back at the bottomless depth. Finally, right before the two of them are about to pass out, they reach air and find themselves spilling back into the dry attic of the present, the box of Papi's stuff destroyed in the wreckage of the journey. Mom sprints towards them.
Amelia! You're back! Couldn't let my little sister have all the fun now, could I?
I never want to go swimming ever again.
I don't know if I'd call that swimming. Flailing is more like it.
Screw you.
I'd like to think we taught you to swear better than that.
Fuck you.
Eso! Eso!
Let's get you warmed up, amor. We'll get through this together. I'll make some chocolate caliente just for you, mi Amelia.
Whoa, what about me?
Dios mío. And you, Rena?
Mom picks Amelia up, cradling her gently in her arms. They walk out of the attic, leaving Rena alone.
Now cracks a noble heart. Good night, sweet Poppy, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Como me dijiste, acuérdate de mí. Claro, you old ghost, while memory holds a seat in this distracted globe. Acuérdate de mí. Bueno, from the table of my memory, I'll keep a place for you in all your sueños. Todos tus libros, your laughs, everything you gave me. Your face and heart, forever seared into my mind, and your commandment all alone shall live within the book and volume of my brain. I'll never let you go. Te lo prometo.
Rena, honey, are you coming?
Jesus, Mom, please tell me you're not gonna force some weird family bonding dynamic all of a sudden. Just because I saved your favorite child from certain death doesn't mean you have to all of a sudden start liking me.
I don't have favorites.
Yeah, right.
Rena takes one more look at the attic, questions hovering around her. Have all the ghosts truly left this house? Or like the secrets and stories, will they linger, waiting until she'll least expect it, until they can slip inside again? She shakes them off and sprints downstairs. Her exit rippling throughout the old space, and we watch as the attic returns to a stillness. Finally, after all this time, it's now just a regular, old-fashioned, albeit creepy, attic. Nothing under the covers, nothing in corners but spiders and dust. However, like most haunted things, this attic won't stay still for long. It's always churning, always working, and somewhere in the distance, behind some boxes, you can almost make out a sigh or a breath on the wind, promising, who's there? We recognize that stories are a powerful thing, and sometimes these stories don't stop when we want them to end. If House of Sueños brought anything up for you, we encourage you to reach out to the following organizations. You are not alone in this, y te queremos mucho. The Suicide Prevention Text Line at 1-800-273-8255. También hay servicios en español. The Trevor Project at 1-866-488-7386. And the National Alliance on Mental Illness at 1-800-950-NAMI. The cast of House of Sueños features Gato Seller as Rena, Angela Hernandez as Amelia, Catherine Castellanos as Mom, Andrew McGinn as Stepdad, with Armando Duran as the ghost of Papi, and me, Sophie Franco, as the voice of the attic. House of Sueños is an original play conceived and written by Meme Garcia, with dramaturgical support and direction by Wiley Basho Gorn. Sound design and editing by Megan Roach, with assistance from Ezra Anisman. Original music by Kobe Gray, and stage managed by Jocelyn Fowler. This production of House of Sueños is produced by Seattle Shakespeare Company and made possible by the support of For Culture and the King County Tourism Board. If you enjoyed this production and would like to learn more or can support us with a donation, please visit seattleshakespeare.org.
We acknowledge that we gather on lands taken from the Duwamish, Stillaguamish, Muckleshoot, Suquamish, and all Coast Salish people, and we pay respect to them as this region's original storytellers. With this statement, we take a first step toward reconciliation, and we invite you to join us in repairing each of our relationships with this land and its people. Special thanks to William Shakespeare, Actors Equity, SAG-AFTRA, the OSF Writers Group 2020, Lisa Tejero, Lucy Wells, William Thomas Hodgson, Cindy Johnson, Luis Garcia, Octavio Solis, Rosa Josie, Seattle University, and 18th and Union, an arts space.
Yay!
Bravo.
Gee.
Wow.
Okay, so wow.
Wow.
I loved watching. I love listening to it, being able to watch all of you.
Very special. What was that like for everyone? What was what's this first thoughts? First reactions.
Ooh.
I can't believe we did that in a closet.
Yeah. That's a mighty undertaking.
It's really beautiful to watch your faces while listening to your voices. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, I shared on Thursday when we were listening to the 5th episode that Joy Dixon, who's the casting director here, she was like, "So I'm confused. Were you you were in the same room, right?" And I said, "Well, no, Kato was under a blanket, like in a little bat cave." Yeah. And then you had said, Angela, that you were under your desk and I was in a closet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I want to hear what everyone's situation was like, because obviously we recorded this completely virtually over about 10 days, right in the middle of December. So yeah, Catherine, walk us through what your setup was like to deliver that performance that we just heard.
In my pseudo 90210 Melrose Place that is called the Hargadines of Ashland, Oregon, I have this walk-in, not closet, but it is like a walk-in because it's big enough to, like, you know, go in there. And so I put one of the dining room chairs in there. I had a green screen behind, hooked on one of the rods behind me. Not that you would see me, but it was just embarrassing to show all my, you know, stuff. And I had there was a big, like, what do you call it? Like a plastic bin with another, like, where you can put shoes in, like about 5 of those and then 5 down that I had, like, scored from someone. What do you call it? They were sidewalking stuff when we first got in the pandemic, and Sheila and I went to those garbage cans behind where we were living in Siskiyou and, like, took a bunch of shit. I got a fucking, what do you call it? One of those coffee things that start with a K. They were throwing
all access.
So I had all that stuff I piled up. And then I had 2 or 3 scarves on top of that to have the mic on there to not make a sound. And then the computer on top over here that was on some luggage. So I could read what I loved about it, though, is I didn't have to worry about how I looked, right? Because it was a radio thing. So it's like I could have my computer thing over here and just make sure. I recorded everything literally in this position. And then I had my little stash down there that had, you know, the Oreos. I'd gotten some Oreos. Thanks, my man.
Oreos,
that habit.
The key player.
But that was it in a closet, because that was the best I guess frequency or something, and it was the best sound. It was the best sound.
This is great, because this definitely ties in a big question about what it's like to design and edit this stuff. But Angela and Caro, you had similar setups, right? You were was it under a desk, I believe?
Yeah, I was under my desk. I have like a wool blanket from Greece. That's a family heirloom. And I draped it over. So it was December, so I was very warm, which I was very grateful for because I was on the floor. And I had 2 Zakus and then a stack of books to put my mic on top of. And yeah, the blanket kept slipping, so I had to keep getting clothespins to clip them over. But I liked it. I liked it because I felt like a kid in a blanket fort, like, which was perfect because we're kids in an attic. So it was ideal. It was very ideal. I thought it was cozy. I liked it.
It looked super cozy.
I want to build it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Caro, you also had an elaborate setup, as I remember it correctly.
Yeah, I was in this little island called Culebra, which is off the coast of Puerto Rico with like terrible Wi-Fi. So I had to get like an Ethernet cable that would connect from wherever the Wi-Fi is actually located. And it was like 50 feet. And I had to like bring it into my room. And it wasn't, it was December. So it's not cold here. It's really hot, but I can't have the air conditioner on while I'm recording. So I would be like sweating underneath my sister's. I took my sister's bed cover and then like my nephew's bed covers. So I had one in front and then one that I would drape behind me on this chair. And everyone here knows that like in between takes, I would like pull myself out of there and just like breathe while I'm sweating profusely. And then every time that we would record, I would just drape myself back on and get back underneath my tent and keep going.
Yeah. Well, so this is an interesting thing. Megan, as the sound designer, since you were the one that kind of orchestrated all these setups, for someone thinking of doing a home recording of your own special audio drama, what are some things that people should be looking out for? What are some best tips and practices that they can implement within the space that they have?
We'll take a leaf out of the book of these wonderful actors who, I felt so bad asking you all to like put yourself in caves and forts and closets, because I know when you're acting, that's probably not the environment you're picturing, but it makes such a huge difference. And I really appreciated it. Being in a room with soft goods, with things that will absorb sound. That's why closets are so great, because it's not, you don't have your voice bouncing off the walls like mine does in my room, because I don't have a lot of fabric up or anything like that. That is probably one of the biggest things, is making sure that you are not in a really loud room. And having, a microphone separate from the one on your computer is helpful. Having headphones is good. And that was something that we spent a lot of time making sure was set up every single day. We did tech checks ahead of time with every single actor to make sure that things sounded the way we wanted them to sound, or as close to what we wanted as possible. It was an exciting time. Learned a lot.
Yeah. I'd also be curious, has anyone here done audio work before, either on an audio book or an audio play? Was this a new experience for everyone?
Well,
yeah.
I had just done Mañana Land, which is part of Book It season, which just the first couple of episodes have just been released. So go listen to that, y'all. A little plug. But I had just done that like in November. So that was the only like experience, but it was different because we ended up recording like in a space that was sanitized like a studio versus actually all being in separate spaces in our homes. I mean, we're all alone in the studio, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. You know, Franco, you played the part of the attic,
Mm.
which was such a new and specific character.
You know, okay, this is crazy
Yeah.
because we were originally going to do it as a film and as a web series. And then, so I wrote the character of the attic in like, I would say what, like 2 months?
I'd say like the character was created within a few days almost,
Yeah.
because it was going in with these beautiful stage directions that Meme had written.
But I guess my question for you, Franco, is just like, what is it like playing a omniscient narrator who is such a character, you know, like it's very much like the attic is the sixth character of the show, it feels like,
Yeah.
you know. So what's that
Well, I frequently feel that I am omnipotent, so for me, it's a walk in the park. No, I mean, it was interesting, I think, right? Having interacted with the show, right, over the last few years in the different ways that you have been making it, right? Either watching you or it being rehearsed in my home or whatever, right? I felt like I did have this unique view into the characters, right? In addition to, of course, like seeing the story in so many variations and all of the different kinds of explorations of the content that you had done. So like knowing you, knowing the show, knowing Hamlet, and then seeing it evolve, like that was, I think, part of it for me, but also like it was just really fucking fun. Oh, excuse my language. It was very fun to just say the words, right? It was like so great. Okay, for y'all in the audience, we only did this in a week, right? Which is bonkers bananas.
10 days, 10 days, please.
I mean, nada. Wait. So like, you know, the words and working, right, with all of you in the room, like it just flowed. It was easy. It was yeah, it was fun.
And expanding that question out to the whole group, since we did have such a short amount of time, what are moments, things that are still dropped in from that time that we were working in? Any specific memories from that? It just feels like a whirlwind of a process that we went through. How obviously this is a new experience for all of us, but did anything come to light for you in terms of how you approach a role based on the amount of time we had to do it in?
You know what happened for me involuntarily, which is what the pandemic is that when I first read the rehearsal schedule, it said rehearse, 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 record, record. So I came in and we did the thing. We read it again and it was like, okay, Megan, are we ready to record? And I was like, I decided I'm not even going to ask if this is the recording. They're saying it. I'm going to completely surrender. I'm going to be here to do what I've been asked to do. I'm not going to doubt. And I'm just going to do it. I still didn't have my answer, but I did it. And then we did it again. And then I think it was at the end of that rehearsal, I said, I just would like a clarifying answer to this question I have. Are we like recording? Like this is the recording? And, you know, Wiley, you were just like, yeah, I think that you all are, you know, you're all there and you're all ready to do it. And, you know, in the past, all the luxuries we had, all the freaking luxuries we had, man, you know, to like, well, no one asked me if I was ready. I think I need a break. Give me a 5-minute break before I do this soliloquy, please. You know, it was like humbling in the making. It was really freaking awesome. And I have to say that what made it sing so much for me was Jocelyn's positivity through the whole freaking thing. All of those emails, every single email was so affirming and so positive, and like we're on, it's like choo choo choo, we're on the right track. Jocelyn is like, yes. So that's how it was different for me, was just like not giving myself room to doubt or credit and surrendering. I really appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah.
I just want to say, the first memory that I had when you asked that question, Wiley, was Angela's mic turning off randomly and turning on when she would get angry at it and scream at it. That was wild. I was like, that is some witchcraft happening over there.
Power of my energy.
It was
I have
amazing.
no control of it.
It was only when she would just start yelling.
I would just start yelling, be like, ah, like just work. It was when I yelled work in that tone. It was the frequency.
Listen to you.
No, I got a power. I don't know. It's what I am. Yeah, that was wild.
I know a big memory for me was the power of keeping up the intention through the delay that happens on Zoom. Because obviously Megan did so much great work of syncing up and driving that text, but it is some kind of mind trickery to stay in the moment while it's like, I serve out my line. There's the response.
And now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And y'all did it beautifully.
Yeah,
But
especially when we're arguing and we're hot and like you're just like, that was you, Caro.
Yeah, I had a constant delay, which I still have, right? I still have a constant delay anytime I'm in a Zoom room, which is always like 3 seconds behind everybody else. And it's just the Wi-Fi situation here. And I will say that for me, the thing that's actually hard at this moment is that when I hear it, I remember the text. So I tend to go back to the text, and it makes me want it in my mouth and in my body again. And that part of it is actually really tricky when you take this time and you invest in these kinds of ways and you give all these options, and then those are the options that are laid out for the day. And there's something about it that the body, mine at least, wants to see what other options are there, right? We had so many conversations privately, which I was just like, Wiley, I have questions. Wiley, I have more questions. And when I hear it now, it's actually, it's sometimes really hard for me because there's something about it that makes me want the text back. And I, I'm not going to get it back.
Well, when I hear it now, I'm like, I totally hear you, Kato, because it's a physical reaction I have where it's like, oh God, I wish I could have another chance to physically catch up with what's being said. And then I could really embody like the immediate intention of what's going on in these words. I mean, it's fine. It's okay. It's better than okay. But I hear it and I'm like, oh, it's like, if this is everything in Meme's imagination for what this is right now, then I am grateful. But I know that were my body to be able to do what is everything in Meme's imagination. Yeah. So we understand that, right? We hear it's like, when you live with someone who's not on this planet with us anymore, we live in absence. And we're living in absence of our own bodies right now because that's such a big part of our work.
Yeah,
So
I definitely,
where we get it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we would record, but in my head, I was like, okay, great. I'm ready to get on my feet. I'm ready to I felt like I was always in rehearsal in a lot of ways. And I was ready for the next step. which was like to get up and to touch and to look at you in the eye. And it was just such a wild experience. I've never done anything audio before. And then to have like the screen itself was such a challenge. And yeah, I definitely feel that too. I'm like, let's get up now. Let's block it. Let's get up and explore it in a space. Yeah.
That's still like a dream of this project. So fingers crossed. But I mean, speaking of all the writing, Meme, what's it like to both be in rehearsal and hear these words that you've put so much time and energy into spoken back? What's it like to hear it now?
Oh, it's such a gift. It's such a gift. I mean, there's, it's funny when I listen to it, this is going to be so bad. I don't really listen to the acting. I'm like, which is, I should be listening. All I listen to is the words. And I'm like, that was the wrong sentence structure, or like, that's the wrong metaphor for this moment. Like, that's all I hear. So, which is so funny because I think I don't experience Hamlet like that. You know, like when I see Hamlet, I'm not like, what the heck was William Shakespeare doing? This is the wrong antithesis here. Like this man, I don't expect my own writing. I definitely hear that. I think what has been really cool is that for so long, this play has just been me performing it, because it started off as a solo show. And it's been really beautiful to see it expand out over 6 people, and outside of Wiley, Megan, and I, that like more people than have ever seen this are experiencing it, which is amazing. And I think it's also helpful for me that people understand like what it feels like in my head. I think that I tried to describe like what my depression and anxiety feels like. And the other day I described it to Franco on the phone as like a bunch of knives pointing inward. And it was really, I think, important for me to write that. So I think the moment that I remember the most from rehearsal is just the moment I realized that like I am not alone in experiencing the trauma of the show. That like, you know, that everybody in that room felt it in some way, in a different way, right? It was different for Andy, it was different for Armando, different for Franco, Caro, and Angela and Catherine, but we all felt it. You know, we all had someone, or we knew someone who had this kind of pain. So I think that was a really beautiful moment for me.
Yeah. Megan, you are sort of the silent witness to all this, and then you took this raw text, this hours and hours of dialogue that we had accumulated, and you crafted these beautiful 5 episodes. Tell me, what is your secret?
A lot of help, first of all. Ezra Anisman did a lot of assistance on the initial dialogue edits, and that is so much work, just taking all of those individual pieces, because some of these scenes we recorded 5 times. And so it's not just finding each individual scene and picking out, you know, the takes that are the best audio quality or whatever. We also have to listen through, and Wiley spent so much time on Zoom with me and so much time listening to these and writing up meticulous notes with line numbers and timings and everything. It really does take a village, but yeah, it's a lot of time, a lot of clicking around on a screen, a lot of taking breaks and like trying to go outside occasionally to breathe some fresh air, because you can wind up sitting at a computer and just staring at it and clicking around for 8 hours in a row. And since I'm also going to school at the same time, they were long days. But I am so grateful for the opportunity to do it. It was a wonderful time, and I know I wouldn't have wanted to do it with any other group of people.
Yeah, what was it like for you working on as a director, like working so like watching Megan work and then working with Megan like that?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It was like we had 5+ weeks of tech that we were just in tech. It was incredible. I had such a joy working on this. Catherine, I hear you with that thing of like, we didn't have the time to record. It was just a sort of dive into the unknown of this piece. And I think going in knowing that this was the time that we had and these were the people, and just trusting in that choice and in all of our abilities as artists was the biggest thing that sort of calmed those nervous energies. Because every time when you're directing a show, the day before your start, you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to direct anymore. I've forgotten. It was there, now it's gone. I don't know when it'll come back. But this was, it was a surprise to me how much joy I took in the whole process. You know, knowing that we only have a certain amount of time to do this scene and we got to get a number of takes. I've realized how specific we have to be in terms of listening. I think about what it's like to make a film and the way film directors are watching for one specific thing. We're listening for one specific thing and we'll keep on doing takes until we get that. And I think a lot of times I didn't always know what that one thing was going to be. But it was trusting that we've got this group of people here. And with these collective minds, we will end up asking the right questions. And on a very personal note, I love audio work. I love listening to books on tape. I grew up listening to all the books that I got were through this company that had all the, like, you know, those piles of cassette tapes to tell all of Lord of the Rings or stuff like that. So this was a really cool full circle return to the first stories when I was a child that really excited me.
And I really appreciated that appreciation in audio, because I've got to say, I don't think I've ever worked so closely with the director on a design for something they did. I mean, it's just the logistics. You normally can't spend a ton of time looking at I spend a lot of time editing alone, crossing my fingers, hoping it works. And then if it doesn't work, going home, redoing it, and then trying again. We didn't have to do that this time around because we were able to listen in real time and talk about what things we wanted to change, what was working, what wasn't working. And that was, not every director would want to do that. And that it makes a huge difference to the final product, I think.
It is so much fun. And I got to ask, rapid fire lightning round, what is everyone's favorite sound effect? What if you had to use one sound cue, if you had to pick one sound cue that is your favorite, what would it be? It can be pieces of music. And for me, I'll start. Megan does this cool thing that is a cymbal, but in reverse. And it's this kind of sucking sound. It goes, and then it sucks in. And that was my favorite sound effect.
I had two. I'm going to say two. One, I really, really like the bone breaking sound. I think that was just
episode 2.
And then every water effect I loved. Every water effect. Franco, go.
I loved the water effects as well, but my favorite was the matches being struck.
Yes.
Okay, go Caro.
I have to say that my favorite are actually the footsteps, and hearing the footsteps coming and going for me were like, yes, distance. Catherine.
I have to say, when I learned that there was a choice for those bone breaking, and I'll never look at celery again the same. Breaking celery, and that's bone breaking. It like makes me want to eat a lot of celery. It's so cool. And also, I have to say, in this last episode, see, you're gonna make me cry, Megan, but the music is just so beautiful. It's what any lost child wants to hear where there's hope. It's so lovely.
I can't take credit for the music. That was it was written by Kobe Gray, who did a wonderful job.
Well, there you go.
I'm glad it resonated so well.
Yeah.
I mean, God.
We love Kobe.
It was,
We love Kobe.
Megan, what was your favorite sound effect?
Oh, there was one transition that happened during an attic speech. It was the pressing. I think maybe it was episode 3. It was pressing through the attic, and a lot of this came from ideas that you had written out. But I just loved how it came together in the end.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Jocelyn, what's your favorite? What is your choice sound effect?
I think I really enjoyed like the creaking of the wood, the creaking of the attic, and the wind through the attic. I really liked a lot of that. Yeah. And then Angela, did you say your favorite sound?
For me, any footsteps, anytime I hear wood creaking or being broken or being manipulated in any way. That's really satisfying to my heart. Layering, the way you layer the vocals with Papi and like my voice, that like totally, I mean, in my bones, in my heart, like that hit hard. Oh, and then you put an accordion in there every now and then. I love the accordion. That's great. Good choice. I love that one.
I don't actually know where that was, but
Really? Maybe it's not an accordion. I swear it's an accordion.
I would have to think about it.
Oh man. Well, do we have any audience questions? No.
No.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's great. I mean, yeah. I think the one thing, this play used to take place in a basement, which I think is interesting. That's a fact that not a lot of people know. It used to take place specifically my grandparents' basement. And the second time we did this show at 18th and Union, we furnished, this is so macabre, we dressed the set with all of this stuff from my grandparents' basement, and my grandparents had passed away. So it was like all of this stuff that they had and they had this basement that was like an antique store. It was like everything you could possibly dream of was in that basement.
Wall to wall.
Wall to wall. And the whole set, the back of the set was just all of this really trippy junk from their basement that my dad watched over with like a, he was just like,
we all went in with our little boxes and just pulled so much stuff out of that basement.
I've never lived in a house that has an attic ever. So I've never experienced an attic firsthand. Now I guess now my room is an attic,
kind
of.
In an attic room.
But yeah, I have always been drawn to like haunted things. And I think that attics are the most haunted in a house. Yeah.
I've got another group question. Since I love that we gave William Shakespeare a little shout out in the special thanks to, because of course so much of this play is influenced by the text of Hamlet. For all of you, is there a classical play or story or mythos that you would use to tell your life story? And it can also, the answer can also be, my life is a legend. Right now, I'd use my own life to tell my life story. And we'll just move into a world of solo shows.
When I was a kid, I was really obsessed with The Lord of the Rings. And I definitely was like, I am a hobbit in the world. And I am on an epic adventure. And, it doesn't matter how small I am, I'm going to change this world. So it's not necessarily a particular story. Although I was like, do I look like Frodo? I could be Frodo.
So something Tolkien-esque, using the Middle Earth.
Yeah, I'm definitely a halfling or a dwarf, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I'd totally watch that play. That sounds amazing.
I think I would be a crossbreed between the Velveteen Rabbit and Harriet the Spy.
Two incredible stories.
I thought that when you said classic, I was like, oh my God, I have to be enough to be one of these plays. And I'm like, So yeah, it would be Velveteen Rabbit and Harriet the Spy.
That's lovely.
I'm going to take the cop out and say my life is going to be a legend or something, because I have no idea which classical text I would pick. It's challenging.
That's something that we come to these classics at different times in our life.
And I think there's also something to be said about just being like haunted by certain things. It could be a song. I feel like my whole life has been about Hamlet, and I've come back to Hamlet at many points in my life to answer certain questions that I feel I don't necessarily know the answers to. so it's not necessarily like, oh, and it's not like I woke up one day and I was like, ah, yes, I am Hamlet. My life is Hamlet. But I think I just kept on going back and kept on going back to it.
Well, like for me with both the things I said, I felt like I was a part of it. I was seen there. There was something that was relatable in so far in my childhood, and up into, pre-adolescence and adolescence. I hadn't found anything relatable in the real world, but in the literary world, I remembered Velveteen Rabbit when I was able to read Harriet the Spy. And when I read Harriet the Spy, I read that fucking book 3 times. I'd end it, read it again, end it, read it again, end it, read it again. And it was all just about the loss, the displacement and being misunderstood, and then the loss of the most significant person in your life.
I don't
really know.
Caesar.
Oh, sorry, Angela.
No, you can go.
I don't really know if this is in any way descriptive of my life at all. But there's something that I always found very honest that was for me just an understanding of myself in La Casa de Bernarda Alba. And it's like a mix of that and then like The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, which wouldn't necessarily be classic, but it's more like a, but it was this whole like having to go through this journey to find yourself. And then like La Casa de Bernarda Alba was just like, I knew those women, I knew what they were going through, and each one of them is like a member of my family. And yeah, there's something there for me that I never thought about before, but kind of where I'm at with this. Angela, please.
I'm not thinking, my first thing that came to my mind was like cartoons. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be Sailor Moon. So when you wrote Mehmet, the Sailor Moon lunchbox, I was like, that was me. And then Disney's Atlantis came out. So like basically girls with crystals who floated up into being something bigger than themselves was very attractive to me. And having like the gang of friends, right? Like this is just like really cool. And knowing that you aren't alone and you can have like people have your back. That was always really attractive and soothing to my heart. And I want to be the Moon Princess. So those are mine.
Well, thank you everybody so much for joining us. This has been so lovely. It's been so nice to have everybody back in the same room and see you all again. I'm very impressed with all the hard work. It's amazing to see what it was when we recorded it to what it is now. It's night and day, and it's just awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
This was so lovely.
Yay.
You're all so wonderful.
So good.